Hello everybody, it's Professor Rich, and today it's another language input rant. So, grab a notepad and pen, and while you listen to my hot take on a spicy topic, I want you to take note of any interesting or useful language which you hear. This is real language in context, which is the best kind of language. You know, I have always considered, or at least recently specifically, I've considered that my primary role as a teacher is in facilitating the learner's exploration of the language, and in particular, helping learners with strategies they can use in order to better explore and take on the language themselves. In other words, I very much believe in student autonomy. Not only that I believe student autonomy is important, but I believe that student autonomy is critical in every area, even language learning, where it might well be argued that in language learning, sometimes there is a right answer and there is a wrong answer. So, teacher, what's the right answer? Okay, sometimes, maybe. But as I've said before, language is not mathematics. Language, to me, is more of an art than a science, or a skill at least. And in many cases, it will be down to opinion what is right and wrong. Some linguists, in fact, a lot of academic linguists actually say it's all down to opinion. But for me, that's too far. I'm not that detached. So even with something where there is sometimes a right and a wrong answer, or at least right and wrong answers, I still believe that the students, the learners, have a right to their own opinion, and that their own opinion is always, or always has some validity. Almost always. Why am I going on about this? Why am I talking about this? Well, because it does seem to me that my perspective here is perhaps not the majority, not even of teachers, but particularly not of certain other professions, people who have the ability to project knowledge or their opinion, particularly on the internet. A lot of people seem to think there is a right and a wrong answer for many questions, and that it's their job to tell other people what the right answer is. What's the right science? What's the right political belief? The wrong one and the right one? Is there any political belief that exists that people honestly believe in that couldn't have a shred of viability? I don't know. But what I do know is that telling people simply that this is wrong and this is right is an insufficient method of learning. Not only that, but it doesn't train the learners well. It doesn't train the learners to be learners. It trains them to be passive receptors of what you tell them is true. What's the point in that? That makes them totally reliant on you. That means they need to always go to you and to listen to you to get the truth. That's no good in any area. Certainly not in language learning, but certainly not in politics, especially not in politics. I would argue it's not even true in mathematics and things where there's a very specific right answer. You know? Should the students always have to rely on the maths experts to tell them what the correct mathematical method is? That seems very reliant. I'm not sure that I would call that role teacher and learner. I might call it something else. So that's why I'm talking about this. In my opinion, there is no situation when students shouldn't have the opportunity to question what the teacher says. There should always be an option to question what the teacher says. It's quite worrying when that option is not presented. I'm not going to name names or be too specific, and I don't want to be accused of being too negative. I'm not being negative. I'm having fun. I'm a philosopher. I like talking about stuff. But when I did my master's at university, I did have one class, and I'm not even really sure if I can say what was being discussed at the time. I think it might be too controversial to say that on my language learning channel, because it was something political. This is a linguistics class, social linguistics, right? And there was a statement made at the start of the class, and I'm not going to say what it was, but there was a statement. The lecturer said something, and then they said, "This isn't 2010 anymore, so I shouldn't need to explain why this statement is true." And then they said, "If anyone has an issue with that or wants to discuss it further, come and see me in my office." And then they moved on to the next point. Really? I have to say that as a student, being told that, I've never felt so threatened. It really did make me feel angry, actually. I felt angry, as well as shocked that someone at university would say something that can't even be called a factual statement. It's definitely a statement of political opinion, perhaps social opinion. And then to be told that this opinion is unquestionable, doesn't need to be explained, and should you feel the need to discuss it, come and see me in my office. That to me is a terrible way to be a teacher. That's not an educator, in my opinion, at all. That can't be called an educator in any way. And even if we add in the explanation, I would still say that that is not an educator. Because everything should be questionable. Everything. Really. Really. I really mean that. In language learning as well. Now, yeah, okay. Someone might be smart at this point. They might say, oh yeah, okay, Rich. Is that right? So, okay, so when you tell me that English, you know, in English we spell the word the with THE, and I say why, and you say, well, because, and then the student says, oh, well, I don't believe you or something. Well, okay. Yeah, I get it. Some people could be difficult, unnecessarily difficult. But my point is that that's okay. And yes, it's the teacher's role to make sure that a difficult or skeptical student doesn't excessively disrupt the class. I agree. But you can at least allow the question to be asked, and you can at least give an answer. No? What's my answer? Well, that's just the way it is. That's not good enough. Give me more. Okay. If we go on to Google and we type THE and put it in quotation marks, then we get like 100 billion results, and they're all the word I'm talking about. That seems pretty solid to me. I think I will accept that that's how you spell that word. Okay. You still have the option to not accept it, but that's my answer. And now we're going to move on. Okay? That's my perspective. That's my perspective. That's, in my opinion, that's how a teacher should always be. That everything can be questioned within reasonable time limitations. Everything can be explained if necessary. If the teacher doesn't have an explanation, then that's a problem. You have to have an explanation for everything. If you ask a question to your teacher and they can't explain it, the thing is, sometimes the explanation might not feel that kind of scientific. But that's, as I said, languages are more art than science, right? For example, I always give this example of a wide range of products. Wide range of products. Why do we say a wide range of products instead of a big range of products? Well, convention is the reason. Again, go on Google, put your quotation marks, a wide range of products, and then put your quotation marks, a big range of products, press enter. With a big range of products, you get like 10,000 hits. And with a wide range of product, you get probably 10 million. Okay? And you can see, oh, convention, that's what people use. If you want to go into it further, we can start talking about semi-fixed lexical phrases and how the mind works and blah, 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 blah. Okay, I'm happy to talk about that stuff. Might not be the most satisfying explanation in the world to some people. That's okay. It's an explanation. Teachers should have to explain themselves when a student wants to question something, and the student can then agree or disagree. It's okay. It's okay. On top of that, there's one more thing that a teacher should really focus on with students, and that is what we call learner training or learner autonomy. In other words, right from the first class and in every class, the teacher should be very aware of imparting onto the students the ability to teach themselves and to explore and discover themselves, whatever the subject is. It's critical because the point is, one day, those students will go their own way into the world, and you're not going to be there, oh big almighty teacher who knows everything, okay? They're going to be on their own. And when they're on their own, they need to be able to fulfill your role. So it's critical, actually, that teachers teach the learners how to teach themselves. Learner autonomy. Give the power, put the power in the hands of the students more and more and more and more. And by the way, any teachers who happen to watch this video, I don't know why, but if you are a teacher, I suppose non-native teachers might be interested. If you are a teacher and you're kind of worried about that, oh God, teaching the students to teach themselves, well, I'll have no one left to teach. No, it's not true. There's a lot to learn. I've been a language teacher for 15 years, and the amount of things that I've learned about how to be a good language learner are vast. You can do classes with me for years, and I'll still be telling you things that you can do to be a better language learner and how to do them, you know? So there's a vast array of things to teach. On top of that, you've always got new students. I mean, there's always sort of new people coming into the world, right? So nothing to really worry about. But we must teach people to teach themselves. And we must allow people to think what they want to think and question it and come to their own conclusions, you know? A lot of students find this really difficult as well. And that's quite sad because a lot of students are kind of institutionally trained. They go through the schooling system and they're kind of trained that this is the right thing, this is the wrong thing. Don't be thinking your own ideas. That'll get you into trouble. Yeah. Don't even try to answer a question unless you know what's right. What a terrible perspective. And then what happens is these learners come to a teacher like me, and we have to spend, yes, often months and years sort of reprogramming people to take control themselves. You know, let me give you a real example. I often teach a technique called vocabulary mining, which is what you should be doing right now, by the way, in this video, this rant. I teach vocabulary mining, where you kind of look for useful real language phrases in a real source, and you select them yourself, those phrases, and then you personalize them, and then you make them part of your active vocabulary. That's vocabulary mining. Well, you know, the number one problem that students have with that is they just become paralyzed. They say, Rich, I don't know. I don't know what language to choose. Like, what phrase? Which phrase do I choose? How do I, you know, they don't know. They want me to tell them, oh, use this phrase, choose this phrase. And it's like this kind of paralyzation because they've been taught that there's a right and a wrong. And if they don't know what the right thing is, then they don't do anything. What a terrible position to be in. So then we have to spend, you know, class after class after class, going through it, working with it, and eventually they start to get a bit more of a feel for what a good phrase is. And it's very much about experimentation. You try. Yeah, get that one. Let's see how it works. Right, I'm going to go. That's my favorite example. I'm going to go to the park. Play with it a bit. What can you do with it? Do some personalized examples. I'm going to go shopping. I'm going to go see my friend this weekend. Lovely language chunk. So nice. Then you might choose another one. It might not be so good. You might choose, like, put it on the table and it's too fixed and too specific and you never use it. You go, okay, that was a bad choice. Never mind. By the way, arguably that's not a bad choice. But, you know, you should discover this yourself. You find out what a bad choice is. Play with it. Go out there and sort of explore the language. That's what you are. You're an explorer. You're exploring the language. And I'm just teaching you some techniques which you can or cannot. You don't have to. You may or may not use my techniques to explore the language yourself. That is what an educator is, in my opinion. And I think it's a damn shame that a lot of people don't see it that way, especially teachers themselves. Yeah. Anyway, that's all I've got to say about that. Thank you very much for watching, everybody. If you liked this video, and you like this kind of new format, then comment down below and let me know. Like the video and all the rest of it. Thank you. And I will catch you next time.